Oh, what's going on, YouTube? What's going on, guys? So, basically, on this channel, I'm going to talk about CDL B. A lot of CDL B stuff. There's a lot of YouTube trucking channels, and most of them talk about CDL A, tractor trailer over the road. And I don't see a whole lot of CDL B content, so I'm going to do, basically, I'm going to do CDL B and just kind of cover what I go through in my day-to-day. Because like right now I'm working for my state's Department of Transportation doing highway maintenance, and we drive dump trucks, and you have to have a CDL B license, and you have to have a tanker endorsement as well. I also have a hazmat endorsement, so I have the X on my license, because when you get hazmat and you get tanker, they put an X. So, but let me start with how I even got my CDL, because I know that there's a lot of people who, they'll go to these schools like CR England and Smith and Solomon, and they'll go there and they'll get their CDL A. They'll get their CDL A license. Those schools, they tend to only deal with CDL A license. They try to push contracts on you, things like that. Because I called them up, and I knew I didn't want to drive tractor trailer. I knew I didn't want to do over the road, because quite frankly, I didn't want to be gone from my wife and home for like weeks at a time. And I just knew that like you can drive local tractor trailer, but living in a city like Philadelphia, driving local is just, listen, it's hard enough to drive a car around Philadelphia, because people just drive like they're nuts. So I can only imagine what it's like driving, this huge long truck around the city. So even around the area, around the city, I mean, I just, hats off to those guys who do that. So basically, I got my CDL. I went to a school called Global CDL School. It's located on Academy Road in Philadelphia. And I went there because it wasn't like the brand name CDL schools. They offer CDL B courses, and there weren't any contracts. They weren't going to try to talk me into doing, a contract where, you come and work for them for a certain amount of time because they pay for your CDL and all that. Basically, you pay your cash, they teach you how to drive the truck, and then it's up to you to pass the test. So my course was a 3-week course for CDL training. And basically, at the time, I had just left the security field, and I did Amazon delivery for a while, and I didn't really like Amazon delivery that much. I mean, it's a simple job, but I like the driving part. I didn't really like the delivery part, because it blew out my knee. Like, I have a bad left knee from doing that job. I didn't like the GPS that they use. They cram your van with so many packages and stuff, and I just, to me, a lot of different aspects of that job just felt really unsafe, because you're constantly like rushing to get it done. So I said to myself, well, I like driving, and how can I make the most money at driving? And I didn't mind driving, bigger vehicles. So I said, I'll go get my CDL. So I went to Global CDL School, located on Academy Road in Philadelphia. And it's one of those schools where, like I said, you pay your money, they train you, and they test you there, and you can get your license. That's where you get tested and you get your license. I was a little skeptical at first because I did a lot of internet research. And so when I heard a lot of CDL mills, that's where, you pay your money and they're pretty much just passing everybody, my skepticism kind of died off, because when I got there, I think it was like my 4th day there, I remember overhearing the instructor talk with the owner, and they were saying that this guy had failed his test. So my skepticism kind of just kind of went away, because I was like, okay, they are failing people here. So you have to, really pay attention and study, and know what you're doing, because when they come to test you, they will fail you. So, and it's right there in the paperwork saying that, if you fail, there's no refunds or anything, so it's really on you. They're there to train you and teach you how to pass, and get, teach you how to drive the truck, and they're going to train you so that you can pass. But, if you don't pay attention and you're just like, oh, I paid my money and they're going to pass me anyway, that's not the case there. They will fail you. So basically, the first week there, you're learning, you're in the classroom and you're learning and you're getting ready to get your CDL permit. So you're studying. They tell you like the mobile app that you can go on so that you can also study at home, and take practice tests. They give you the CDL, the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, manual, CDL Manual for you to study. They go over different courses. We had a good instructor. I'm not even gonna say he was a pretty good instructor. He was a really good instructor. And he told a lot of stories of when he was over the road. I think he said he was truck driving for like 30 something years. He started when he was like 20 or 19 or something like that. So he had a lot of experience. He had different experience in different states. So, and one of the things he would say is, because you had a lot of guys in there and you had the options. You had the option of driving automatic and you had the option of driving manual. So one of the things that he would say is learn how to drive manual, because anybody can drive an automatic, but you should learn how to drive a manual because it makes it look better on your resume when you go out for a job to say that you know how to drive both. You can drive automatic and you can drive manual. So when I was going for my CDL B, I decided to go for manual. And in my class, it was only like me and one other guy that were getting our CDL Bs. Everybody else was getting CDL As. So another thing that the instructor said was, this is kind of like a work at your own pace kind of thing. So basically, if you think you got it, so you're going through the training and you think like, okay, I can take the test and I know I will pass. You can come up to an instructor anytime and say, hey, I'm ready to test. I can pass. I'm ready to go ahead and test. And they'll go ahead and, look at your dates or whatever, and they'll, put you in, they'll schedule you in your dates, and, and they'll go ahead and test you. So it's really one of those things where like you are kind of working at your own pace as well. So in the first week, it was 8 to 4, 5 days. And I think I was only in class for about maybe like 3. Yeah, I was in class for 3 days, because then I went up and I called him up and I said, hey, I'm not going to be in class the 4th day. And he's like, why not? I said, I'm going to go get the permit. So they was like, are you sure you want to go? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go get the permit. Because I had been studying for my general knowledge test, my air brake test, and my hazmat endorsement. I had forgot at the time to go for the tanker endorsement as well, but I'm kind of glad, and I'll explain that in a bit here. I'm kind of glad I forgot I didn't go for the tanker endorsement, because what happened was when I go to the PennDOT office and I go to get my and I go to take the 3 tests, I passed the general knowledge and I passed the hazmat, but I failed the air brake test. And I think the reason why is because I had a lot of information jumbling in my head. I mean, I was basically had the information of 3 tests, and I was going to take all 3 tests at once. And so I failed the air brake test, and I went back the next day. It was a Friday, and I took the air brake test. I mean, I got there like early, before it even started, because it was a bit of a line. And I got in there, and I mean, it must have only took me probably about 2 minutes to do the air brake test. Got 100%. And so basically I walked out of there with my permit and had basically hazmat, general knowledge, air brake test. That was all done. So they basically come Monday morning, I was gonna hit the truck and go ahead and start training Monday. So I come in Monday morning. It's another 8 to 4, 5 days a week. You're doing this for like 2 weeks, and I knew nothing. Mind you, I knew nothing about trucks. I knew nothing about the trucking industry, nothing about trucks. So basically, I get in there and he said, you're going to work with this guy. And it was this older guy. He was from Michigan. He said he was an instructor in Michigan, and he drove for a while, and then he was an instructor in Michigan as well. So he takes me and he puts me in like this old rig. I mean, it was an old truck he put me in. And he was like, what do you know about manual driving? And I said, I know nothing. I know absolutely nothing. You know, one of the things that I've learned in my life is that sometimes you have to humble yourself to the things that you don't know. I see a lot of guys, especially like men, that'll, you know, they'll come in there with this attitude of, yeah, I already know how to do this, I know how to do that. And you get to the point where nobody wants to teach you because you're going off mouthing that you already know. And then you screw up and then everybody's laughing at you. Me, I took a different approach. I started taking a different approach, now how I do training and how do I do different trainings and different studyings and, you know, things like that. And so usually if somebody's instructing me and I don't know, I will tell them right off the rip, I do not know. I ask questions and I humble myself and I tell them, like, hey, I have no clue what you're talking about, and you're probably going to need to take the extra time to work with me because I have absolutely no idea how any of this works. And so that's what I told him. And yeah, and he worked with me in this old truck. We went around the yard. He was like, you know, clutch, shift, you know. And so we went around the yard a few times, clutching and, you know, shifting. We didn't really get into the high gear because this was a 10-speed manual, so we only did 1 through 5 at first. Then we started getting into the start and fourth gear, and so that took me a while to get the hang of that. And from there, we only did that for probably about 3 days, and then I went off to work with a different instructor for a while, and that's when I got into a newer truck and started hitting the road a little bit more. Now, the thing about it is that I'll say this to this day, I am not the best manual driver. I don't even know how I even got licensed in manual driving, because while I was in CDL school, I stalled out the truck every single day. I stalled out the truck in every way possible. You can stall the truck. I stalled it out on the highway. I stalled it out on the street. I stalled it out in the yard. I stalled out the truck while it was parked. I stalled out this truck every single day. And I was getting frustrated. It was stressful. You know, I was getting mad. You know, I got to the point where I was sitting there saying to myself, why are you doing this? Why are you even trying to learn this? And I was getting to the brink of quitting, but I just kept pushing forward. You know, my wife, she supported me, told me, you know, you just gotta just do your best. So when the 2 weeks are almost up, they were going to test me, but they decided to push back my test because they knew I didn't have it yet. So I get out on the road, and this time on the road, I do really well. And I get through the entire course without stalling out. And then when I get into the yard, that's when the truck stalls out, was when I get into the yard. So, you know, basically, I still hadn't had a perfect day of not stalling out. But I got to the point where I was just so frustrated. I was like, you know what? I just want to get this test over with. So I go and tell them, hey, I'm ready to go ahead and test. So they said, okay, you sure? I said, yes. Yeah. So they scheduled me, and they scheduled me for St. Patrick's Day to take my test. So I'm like, okay. So St. Patrick's Day comes, and I'm telling myself all day long, like all morning long, because my test was scheduled early in the morning. So I'm telling myself all morning long, you only have one shot. You got to get this done in one shot. I don't know how it is in other states, but in Pennsylvania, you have 3 shots. And the way that this school does it set up, and I'm not sure, once again, I'm not sure if this is how it's done across the board, but the way this was done, your test is broken down into 3 parts. You have your pre-trip, you have your skills, and you have your driving. And part of your pre-trip is your air brake test. It's part of your pre-trip test. So really it's 4, but they break it into 3 because your air brake test is part of your pre-trip. So, and you have 3 shots to pass. So the way the school did it was, you could pass your pre-trip, you can pass your skills, and if you fail your driving test, you know, you can come back and take the driving test the next day. You don't have to go back and do your pre-trip and your your pre-trip and your skills again. You do have to do your pre-trip, but they're not testing you on your pre-trip. You just do your pre-trip because that's what you're supposed to do when you're driving a truck. You're supposed to pre-trip your truck every day. So, but basically that's the way it was. So a lot of times the objective would really be, get through your pre-trip and your get through your pre-trip and your skills first time around. That way, all you have to do is worry about the driving test, and you got like 3 shots to pass the driving test. So, but me, I kept telling myself, you don't have 3 shots. You got 1. You got 1 shot to do this thing. You don't have 3. So, get inside the truck. We're going. Starts off pretty smooth. I'm like, the truck's going smooth, but I'm in full-on panic mode. I mean, I'm white knuckling the steering wheel. I'm white knuckling the clutch. I get through the pre-trip. I get through the air brakes part, which I knew that stuff like the back of my hand. I get through the skills really well because, as it turns out, I drive better in reverse than I do forward. So I got through the skills with no problem. But when it came to the driving part, I was in full-on panic mode, white knuckling the steering wheel. One of the things I did was I kept talking to myself the entire time, and what I was saying was everything that the instructors had told me. So, I would get to like certain stop signs and I would say, okay, shift down to this gear. Okay, turn, pick up speed here, shift to this gear, don't shift on railroad tracks. I was basically repeating every single thing that the instructors told me whenever they were training me to be on the road. So, and that really helped me, constantly repeating it. It helped me, kind of calm down a little bit, but it also helped me because that's what the tester liked. The tester liked the fact that I was explaining every single thing that I was doing, and I was explaining it the same way the instructors explained it to us. So we're coming around to like the end of the course. And at the end of the course, you have to do like an emergency pullover. Check your lights and whatever it is that you do, an emergency pullover, because it's emergency. So you want to check your truck. Then you want to check and you want to pull out. You want to check your mirror, put your turn signal on, you want to pull out. So now we're on like the last stretch back to the yard. And this is you go down the road and then you make a left turn and then it's basically a straight shot to the yard. Well, I'm in 7th gear going down this road headed to the yard, before I'm making a left to head to the yard. I'm in 7th gear. And it's a 2-lane road, cars going this way, cars coming the other way, right? So as I'm going, there's a car coming down, and now I'm thinking in my head, please let this car hurry up so I don't have to downshift to make this turn. And now I'm like, and once again, I'm in full panic mode again. So because I was terrible at downshifting. So I'm like, there's no way in the world I'm going to shift from 7th to 6th and this truck isn't going to stall out or I'm going to not miss this gear. So I need to stay in 7th. So I start slowing the truck down and it starts making that puttering like it's getting ready to stall out. And this car goes past and it's open, it's clear. And I whip the truck around this left turn, and I whipped it around fast. And I got the pedal down to the floor because I'm trying to save this truck from stalling out. And as I whip this turn and it's making that pop, 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 like it's getting ready to stall out, and then it starts going a little faster, pop, 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 and then boom, the truck came back to life, and I'm as happy as a pup with 2 tails. We straight shot straight into the yard. I get inside the yard. I hit a hard right in front of the office. I stop the truck, quickly put it in neutral, pop the spring brakes on, and test is over. And I take a deep breath and I start cheering. Oh man, I started cheering. My head's out the window of the truck and I'm just like, yes. I'm so freaking happy. And the instructor looks at me and he goes, "Why are you so happy?" And I looked at the instructor and I told him, because this is the first time I haven't stalled out. And he just looks at me for this long time. And I can tell he's thinking to himself, should I pass this guy? So he finishes up his report and then he says to me, by law, when it's raining out, you're supposed to have your windshield wipers on. And so now I'm like, crap, I just failed this test. And I asked him, like, did I fail? And he says, no, it didn't rain. And right as soon as he said that, it started raining. Because when I was doing my test, it was like cloudy out, but it didn't rain yet. So basically, I just skated through on this CDL test. I pretty much skated through, made it before it started raining, you know, got the truck back up when it was getting ready to stall out. And yeah, my first time not stalling out the truck was when I was taking my CDL test. And so that's how I got my CDL. And, you know, it was a great day. I felt like I really accomplished something. It was stressful. I was ready to quit, but I decided to, you know, stick with it. You know, they say you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And I was like, well, I'm probably going to brick, but at least I'm going to take the shot. So, and I went ahead and I just did it. And, yeah, I'm really happy that I went for it. You know, it was a great accomplishment. But then you start getting out into the workforce, and well, I'm gonna save that for another video. So if you want to hear more, you know, like, subscribe, and you know, we'll keep this thing going. All right, thanks for watching.